Starting from coming on names.
Cass.
Linda.
Marty.
Julia.
Anita.
Cliff.
Tony.
Chris.
Michael.
Jane. Catherine.
Peter.
Michael.
Sheila.
Dean.
Mitra. And Bob. There you go.
You've all heard it before.
No. Michael's new.
Michael.
Got one brand new, Bob.
Hmm?
The one brand new here.
You can't hear properly.
Someone brand new here, Michael.
There he is.
Oh,
Good to see you.
no, Richard. Is it? Are you going to do right? Would you like to sit there?
With your glasses.
Yeah. We've all heard it before. It's the same old thing we talk about.
Say it.
Non-duality, they call it. Non-duality is an ancient religion. It's Hinduism, Advaita, translated, meaning one without a second, not two, only that. That's the great mantra, I am that. And we don't recognise that. But it's quite easy to see that that's the chair you're sitting in, that's the room the chair's in, that's the person sitting next to you, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's everything is that which we discriminated with the word. We put chair, table, room or whatever, all these, me, you, are discriminating the word, but it is only that, meaning one life, one essence, one intelligence, one being. That is all there is. And another way they say is what is. What is not what was, or not what will be. It's what is right now. This is another way of putting it, being, knowing, loving to be. Anyone who is not being right now, you'll say, of course I'm being. Anyone who is not conscious, well, there's no one sitting here who's unconscious or unaware. And you all want to be. They call loving to be. You don't want to be dead right at this moment. So, all these ways we're putting it, you must realise that it is already so. And we've got the idea with a sense of separation that has come upon us through learning the words that we need to become something. And we've got to try to become this or that or realise or liberate or whatever. But it's being. Being can never be becoming. Because becoming implies a future time. And so that makes you, if you look at time, is there such a thing as time? Is there a past if you don't think about it? Well, you can't say there's a past unless you think about it. You'll say, I was in the past. Well, if you think you're in the past, try and live it. Try and go back and live yesterday or 5 minutes ago. You can't go back and live. It's gone, but you can recall it. And the only actuality you're giving it is when you're recalling it right now. And what about the future? You can't live in the future. You can't tell me you can't live in what you're going to do when you leave here, but you can imagine it and anticipate it. And when it happens, whatever happens then, it will be right now. It won't be in the future. So where does that leave you? present and aware. And that sense of presence is with you right now. You know that you are right here, right now. That sense of presence is with you. So, what I pointed to is the fact of your being, your reality, not as the person. The person is the idea of being a separate entity, an individual. And where does that word person come from? The ancient Latin persona, the mask. So we've got this mask of concepts. And I think I am Bob, the Australian, the good fella or not so good. All concepts, all taken on board by that I am. Nisargadatta tells you to stay with that I amness. And we think he's saying, repeat, I am, as a mantra. He's not saying that. He's saying, what's that I am represent? It represents the sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Anybody ask you who you are, you'll say, I am so-and-so. Whatever your name might be. But you give them the wrong thing. Because you are not that person, you are not that name, you are not that label. You are the life, the intelligence, energy, the activity of knowing, the one reality. And that's what they say, it's only one reality. They like to call it God, if you like, call it all sorts of different labels. The great perfection, the absolute, different labels they put on that. And there are so many different words for this God. Every so-called religion has got a different idea or concept about this, what this God is. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. And that's all that God is a word, a label we put on it. All things were made by Him, by the Word, isn't that so? All these things in this room, you've got words or labels on. And there's nothing made without the Word. So we've got a lot of conceptual images, seeing things, including itself. We're putting labels on, or words. And have a look at the Word. Is the Word the thing? Take the word water. Drink the Word if you can. Swim in it. Drown in it. You can't. The word fire. Cook with the word fire. Heat yourself with the Word. What's the word I or me then when you look at it in that light? Are you this body? Are you this mind? Are you this person? Innately you know you're not that because you say my body. You say my house, my car, my coat. You know you're not the house, the car and the coat. Or maybe you're not my body either if you look at it. And when you look at it you'll see it so. Because that's what they tell us also. The false cannot stand up to investigation. Investigating all these concepts we have, or beliefs, and look into them, and if they're not the actual, they're not the real, they'll fall apart under that investigation. But we don't question it. We take it all for granted because we've learned it when we were kids. Our parents told you this, that and the other. We've taken it on board without question. Go to school, learn more words and concepts, and not until something might move you. There's got to be a bit more to life than what this is. You go and a lot of us take up some of the religions that our parents took on, and they're telling you you're a terrible sinner, you're a bad person, you've got to watch this and careful of that. And we've got all these psychological patterns about it because we take the belief that we are this separate entity. And listen, look at that, what's it consist of? Thought, feeling and emotion. That's the way this life essence is functioning. First, there's a thought there, and that thought stays there for a while, and then the sensation that comes up with that thought, what we believe the thought is, turn into the feeling, and we take on board the feeling. It'll be fear, anger, depression, guilt, shame. All the psychological problems are thought. Feeling and emotion. It's the same thing that's happening in nature. Instead of thought, feeling and emotion, it's the sun shining. You go outside on a cloudy day, you don't see the sun. Would you say the sun's not in the sky? You've investigated and know the sun never leaves the sky. But when you ask yourself what forms the cloud, and you realise the sun itself forms the cloud. But the sun doesn't know anything about the cloud. But what does the sun do? It shines, and in its radiance, in its heat, it evaporates water. The water rises up and cools down, condenses and forms a cloud which obscures the sun. The sun keeps shining and cool down or whatever, and the cloud will cool down and come down as rain, go into water or ice, becomes solid. But it's still the same thing. See, that's how the body functions with thought, feeling and emotion. A thought comes up and obscures that pure life essence that you are, the pure intelligence entity, the pure being, knowing and loving to be, and obscures it. And that thought will come up in a sensation or a feeling, and it's good, it's bad, it's pleasant, it's painful, unhappy. And then the emotion comes about from that feeling. So thought, feeling and emotion are appearing as concepts and ideas in this pure life or pure intelligence energy. And are you this body? You say my body, you say my house, my car. What's the body made up of? When you investigate, you'll see it's made of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just like the elements around you. There's nothing but elements around you. And that's what this body is. It is those elements. Take the air out of your body, see how long it lasts. Take the fire, the body temperature. It wouldn't last too long. Take the water, your body's 60% water. Get off the earth, get out of space. So you realise you're not separate from those elements. And those elements appear to be solid and substantial. And we take them to be real. But that life that you are, presence, awareness, and there's no one who is not unaware right now. And primarily, what are you aware of? You're aware of the presence, of being. You're aware of being. And being is not becoming. Being is what is happening right now. You call yourself a human being, call God the Supreme Being. Take away the label human off, take away the label supreme. Try and separate your beingness. Try and tell me that you're not. And being is not becoming. It's being. It's going on right now. You are being. You are knowing that being. And you are happy to be. You don't want to be dead. But when we go into the other direction and take this pattern, shape and form, this body, mind, to be what I am, that becomes fearful, anxious, because the sense of separation comes about with it. I am not that. I am not that life. I'm not that beingness. I am this body. I am this mind. I am a separate entity, an individual, a person. And that sense of separation is the cause of all our psychological suffering. It's only me that can be fearful. Only me that can be unhappy. Me can be ancient activity. Me is the cause of all the fear, the anxiety, the stress, the guilt, the shame, the remorse, and all the psychological suffering that's going on in this body. It's all relating to me. We think that it's me that's doing it. And me is a concept, a word we've learned. And they call it non-conceptual awareness. Thought-free presence awareness. Awareness that's free of concepts, free of thoughts. And look at that and see, investigate that. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Well, have a look at that. What can you say without the thought? You can't say it's good without a thought or bad without a thought, pleasant, painful. You can't say anything at all about it without the thought. And without saying anything about it, left as it is, what happens? It changes. And you look into this manifestation, this life, and see it's constantly changing. It's transient. That body that you call you is changing right now. Not the same body you walked into this room with. There are thousands of cells dying in it right at this moment and being replaced. And each cell that's being replaced knows what to do. It's suffused with that intelligence, because a liver cell won't become a skin cell, and the skin cell won't become a brain cell. And look out the manifestation and see all this manifestation. Well, how does it appear? Where does it appear? And you look out, see, it needs to appear in something. And you realise what's the very first thing you see. You'll say, I see you, or see me, or see this, or see that. And we ignore and miss out on the obvious thing we see is the space. Very first thing you see is space. And then when you look at it, you realise that all these things, including you, me, and everything else, is the content of space. Can you postulate or think of anything outside of space? Space is no thing. It has no shape, no form, no centre, no circumference, no boundaries, no beginning, no end. It's no thing. But can you postulate or think of anything at all outside of space? And they tell you that too. They tell you it's a space-like awareness. And all this manifestation, that's the pattern, shapes and forms, the body, minds and things, are adornments of that space. They're attached to the space. The pattern, shapes and forms are adornments of it. They're not the space itself. And when you look at that, space is no thing. And can something, it's all the content of space, can something come from no thing? It can't. So you and I, though we're appearing to be real, solid and substantial, and everything else in this manifestation is no thing. But the reality of it is that space-like awareness. That space-like awareness is everything in which the no thing appears and seems to be so. So everything is the no thing and the no thing is the everything. It's not divided. And you see that when the thoughts come up, it's good, it's bad, it's pleasant, it's painful. And we like one and don't like the other, we think it's separation. But they're all two ends of the one stick. Couldn't be good without bad. It couldn't be pleasant without pain. Couldn't be happy without sadness. Couldn't be you without me. It's all the content of that basic state which they call awareness or knowing or beingness. Absolute one essence. Patterning, shaping, forming, appearing, expressing as everything. And everything is a no thing. When we see no thing, we think nothing. a vacuum and a void. It's not that. It is no thing, meaning it's got no shape, pattern or form. Now when you go to sleep at night and you have a dream, what do you do in the dream? All sorts of pattern shapes and forms appear, seemingly solid, seemingly real, and you see this believed in concept you have about yourself is taking an active part in the dream, doing all sorts of things are happening, and seemingly active part in the dream. When you wake up, what happens? You realise that body hadn't moved off the bed, no words had come out of your mouth, it had all taken place in the seemingly space-like awareness that you are, a dream. And it all disappears, all the dream stuff disappears. But you don't realise when you wake up in the morning, this starts, your waking state starts off from where it left before, like the night before. It hasn't disappeared, it's come about again. There's still the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, touching, smelling is there. And we take it to be real, not realising this is a waking dream. And the other dream, the dream is seen for what it is, not real. And we don't recognise this as the same. Though it appears to be so, it's not how it appears or seemingly is. And we can get all the conceptual idea and concepts about it and dream it. And this makes us fearful, anxious and unhappy because we're constantly relating to this believed in entity. When a parent told you you are little Johnny or you're little Billy or little Jane, whatever your name might be, and you think that's what this shape and form is. This body-mind, it's this pattern, shape and form. We take it to be that. And it becomes fearful, anxious, because the sense of separation is loneliness, it's isolation. That separation that we live in, believed in separation. And so it's seemingly strong. But you realise there's nothing separate, it's the one essence that's appearing as everything. And recognising that, what would happen? When you realise it's only me that can be fearful, it's only me can be anxious, jealous, envied, guilty. Me, this conceptual image of it. And the great reality is absolute. It's non-dual. They call it non-conceptual awareness, awareness without any concept. Absolute, a big difference, isn't there? From the isolated, separate entity, the person, the me. And because of that sense of separation, it's fearful, it's anxious, it's unhappy, depressed, guilty, jealous, envious. If you see that the me is the cause of all these fears, anxiousness, and all depression and all the rest, and the effects are the anxious, the fears and all the rest, they're the effects of the cause, of relating to the cause. All our problems are problems of relationship. Relationship is relative to dualism. And there's no such, absolutely no duality, they tell you, in non-duality. Absolutely none whatsoever. So when the thoughts come up and we divide them, recognise it's not so. And realise, we'll take again a look at nature and see how nature's functioning. Learn these things, see them for yourself, know them, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You see the earth rolling around the sun, you know that. Been pointed out, and you do it's so. Well, this part of the earth is facing towards the sun. What is it? It's facing towards the sun, it's full of light. It's daylight. What's the other side of the globe? It's the round globe, and the other side's facing away from the sun. And the sun can't get through this to the other side, so it's dark. Daylight and dark, two pairs the opposite. But are they so? Does the earth know anything about daylight and dark? It doesn't. Does the sun know anything about daylight and dark? It doesn't. It just shines of itself. And in that shining and moving around, that animation, the intelligence energy, it changes around. But it comes around, and the same way it's coming around, the the warmth, the heat of the sun can form the different seasons. Winter, summer, autumn, spring, different seasons. They happen, they come about. And they're not fighting with others to change around. Just like the earth rolling around the sun, it's not fighting with it. They come around themselves. But with us, we got the good and we don't want the bad. So we try and get rid of the bad, not realising it's going to change of itself if left as it is. If you're in tune with it, if you're at one with it, it's going to naturally change. We try to change it. So we resist it from being there. Instead of leaving it as it is and allowing it to happen, we resist it. And resistance is conflict. You're resisting something, you're fighting with it, you're trying to keep it there. And conflict makes you unhappy, fearful, anxious, depressed. Me is the cause of all this psychological suffering. And that unhappiness is uneasiness, another word for it. And another word for uneasiness is dis-ease. You're not at ease. So that's what goes on in our life, this resistance, conflict, and dis-ease. Something comes up, you like it. Things you like, we want to keep there. We don't want this to go. So we resist it from going, trying to keep it there. Trying to keep it there, we're in conflict because it's naturally trying to move along, and we don't want to keep it there and hold it in this place. It won't happen. So we're in conflict with it and struggle with it and can't hang on to it. So resistance, conflict and disease. But what happens if I recognise that me, the believed in self-centre, this believed in me that thinks it's an individual, a person, a separate entity, is seen that it is not that separate entity. See that the cause, me, is a fiction. Well, if it's not relating to a cause, ask yourself, can there be any effect? Can there be the fear, the anger and the depression of that if you're not relating to the cause, me? Can there be an effect if it's not related to the cause? And cause and effect is what they call karma. And a lot of us have got the idea about this karma. It's going to get me and do this to me. But if it's not relating to the cause, me, where can it lodge? It'll change by itself, which it does change by itself. And you know that if you pause a little while to see how your life has gone on. It's changed, it's continually changing and transient. You've struggled with lots of things trying to make the change come about. Some of the thinking has helped in some ways or others, but mainly it's caused problems. It can be useful in some respects. That's why we have the capacity of reasoning and thinking. But when we've got the belief in it, it's what's the cause of all our problems. The believed in conceptualising, taking it to be real. So seeing that cause and effect are so-called karma, and without relating to a cause there can be no effect. So if I've been unhappy, miserable, fearful and anxious, wouldn't that be the way out? To recognise and see if it's so or not? If I'm not relating to anything, what is it? Everything is just as it is. And as it is means it's unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. Left as it is, it's pure being, pure knowing, and pure loving to be. And it's transient. It's continually changing. Call it the absolute or the great perfection. If you are absolute, what can be added to absolute. It wouldn't be absolute if you can add anything at all to it. And what could be taken away from it? It wouldn't be absolute if there was anything taken away from it. Well, if you look at everything and see everything is as it is right now, with nothing added or nothing taken away, left as it is, who could be superior to you? We talk about this, well, this one's better than I am, I don't like this, I don't like that. Or there, I feel inferior to this other one. Who could be inferior to you? You realise that the absolute, no one superior, no one inferior, and what would you want from the other person? Now see the way this world's functioning, with all the concepts that are going on, the fear and the anxiety, the wars and everything. People are feeling something, they're losing something, others are feeling they've got to get something, attain something. No one is ever just happy to be while they're living from that point of view. And those down through the ages have recognised it. I tell you that life can be a beautiful thing, an amazing, wondrous thing. And they tell you, they pointed it out. And they've formed religions and teachings around it. And it's been passed on from one to the other down through the ages. And religions are formed around it. But of course they're being formed like that a lot of them get corrupted. And lose sight, and they tell you you're a sinner and no good and trying to rule you and make you do this and do that instead of leaving everything as it is. And those that have done that have settled down and had a good understanding of it and see the peace and the love and joy that they're expressing through them, and others hear it. But some in the religious things that have corrupted it, what have they done? They've given you rules and regulations, things to do and not to do. And if you don't do this and don't do that, you'll be a terrible sinner. You'll be this, that and the other. Put the fear of hell, of God into you, if you like to call it that, with the concepts and ideas. And what we've done, we've set them up as saints, sages, saviours and seers, and worshipped the messengers. The messenger is nothing. Just you, me, or it can be the messenger. But the message is what is the reality. Get the message and live and realise and recognise and be the message. Add to it. Be that livingness, be that life essence, the being, knowing and loving to be. That'll do, I think. Some of you here know it, so I say, don't hesitate to point it out in your words, because your words might be a bit different to the words here, and someone here might resonate with them. And you know that's how it happens, is the resonation. Something moves you you hear something and it resonates. And you'll say it, I felt it, heartfelt. They call it heartfelt, and they point to their chest and think it's heart. We take that to be the physical heart, but it's not the physical heart at all. Using heart as the core of your being, the symbol of the spirit. And you know what heart to heart is. Because you hear someone's sad story and you like them and something, or have a bad accident or something, and you say in relating it to something else, my heart went out to them. You knew what it was, and that sensation, that resonation. And when you hear it and resonate with it and recognise the truth of it, you know what it is also. And that's when you take it further and look into it more. And the more it's resonated with and looked into, the easier it becomes. And the less and less you're locking into the psychological part of it, where most of our time is locked into that, because We don't, when the thoughts come up, we don't give them a chance to settle and look into them. We go into the fear and the anger, the depression. But in resonating with it and recognising the truth, the being, the wellness of being, the joy of being, it grows in you until it becomes, or it is, until the recognition is there that I am that life, I am that truth, I am that being, I am that loving to be, I am that. That is what I am. I'm not this person, I am not this body, I am not this mind. Try it and see, test it out. And as I say, those that know it, tell it, knows it, hear and haven't heard it, and got any questions or doubts about it, ask about it, question about it, look at it yourself. Nobody's going to give it to you. We go to these people and think they're going to give us that and give us something or other. How can they? When there is nothing other than that. I can't talk to anybody, as I say. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking to any mind. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no body, there's no mind. I'm talking about that, to that I am that I am. The sense of presence, which expresses through the mind here as that thought I am, expressing there where so-called you are, the same way as that thought I am. Just to this, I'm speaking just to this, nothing else. And the other way is what it is, can't tell you anything. I can't teach you anything. And that's why I say nobody can give it to you. No, because there is no other to teach you anything. Tell you. I can't tell you anything. Can't teach you anything. I can only point toward and ask you to look to where I'm pointing through. Not only pointing with the finger, but with the words, the ideas and everything. And see for yourself. And they tell you that. Look for it yourself. The false cannot stand up to investigation. These false concepts that we've taken on board and are living, and have got hold of us, been living for years, we keep relating to them and believing in them, and they're seemingly real. But a little bit of investigation, you'll see that they're not real. Who am I? Well, I know that I am. I cannot negate that. But what's the label or shape or form I'm putting on them? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Or am I that sense of presence? I am present and aware. I am life. Is the life in the body, or is the body in that life? And when I look at it and realise that this body was formed from the life that was in my presence, I've put the life into it, and everything else, the life was there first, then the pattern, shapes and forms through which it expresses through comes about. Take your stance from that position and see how it is. This body is just a vehicle, as I say. It's a conceptual vehicle in space, an appearance in space, because space is everything. And there is nothing you can postulate or think of can be outside of that space. Space is no thing. And so that everything appears in space, space is no thing. So everything is the no thing, and the no thing is everything. So there it is. Again.
Give this time. Follow the time.
Hang on.
And we welcome everyone who is online with us. We have 20 plus people, depends on the moment. And we have a question Jyoti says, why do we have, apart from good morning from the online community to us all, why do we have the strong urge to effort or take action? Is it just a survival instinct?
Well, life is ever fresh, ever new, transient, it's constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't be life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jyoti, you may actually just examine different urges or different actions and see. You can relate every action, action of avoiding pain, or action of following pleasure, or action of fulfilling desire, or feeding the body. You can actually just simplify them all to the need of the survival for the body. That's.
Do you make any effort to take a breath, or beat your heart,
No.
or grow your hair and your fingernails, digest your food?
Mm.
That's what intelligence, energy, the activity of being is doing all the time. It's patterning, shaping, forming, expressing all these different patterns, shapes and forms for the experiencing to happen. But what's your next thought going to be? You can't tell me. What's your next thought? The thought will come up and you say, I think. So when you say, I think, you formed a thinker, a subject. Instead of leaving the thinking as it is where it will change, but now you formed a think. I think, and the thought you think has become the object. So you're into that dualism. And with the dualism, you're always trying to become something instead of being. Relax and be.
There is one more question from Tristan. I have glimpses of it when I remember to look. How can I sustain it through more of my life? How can I sustain it through more of my life? Thanks, Kat.
Keep looking.
Yeah, initially it may be required. Keep looking.
You're seeing. And they say, seeing no thing, yet it is seen. You understand what that means? Well, you're seeing all these patterns, shapes and forms, but they are no thing. They're all appearances in space. But you're seeing the space. You know the space. And what we're seeing is appearance. All these appearances are no thing. And you're seeing it all.
And that's it for the online community contribution. So now the mic goes to you, Tony.
I was thinking life can really just be seen as a movement from high pressure to low pressure, and so the story of survival doesn't even need to come into it. That's all there is, really.
Just what makes something a thing or a no thing is how it's perceived or how it's labelled in the mind. And the thing about the effort, what makes something an effort is how it's labelled in the mind too. I mean, is going to the kitchen to get a glass of water an effort, or is it running around the block? is an effort. It's energy appearing in a way, but it's labelled effort, or this is a thing, or this is nothing, this is matter, this is energy.
Yeah.
It's discriminated in the mind.
We call it mind. But is there such a thing as mind apart from thought? And as Shakespeare too, it tells you there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So that's what the so-called mind does. It vibrates. It's sound, it's word, it's noise. That's all mind is. Vibrating into different patterns which we form words out of with the innate intelligence in this body. And the words seemingly real, but the words are not the thing. In the mind, no mind. In the word, no word. In the thought, no thought.
Julia?
what's coming to mind is a quote from Yoda. Try not. Do or do not. There is no try. Star Wars, right? It's a good line. Yeah? There's another story I remember hearing somebody else talk about with little kids in school. And I think what's happening is there's a claiming, they're not noticing the claiming, but there's a me that needs to pretend, or at least make the teacher think I am trying. I'm trying, you see? I'm really trying to get this to understand. I'm trying to let go. Trying, there's another great quote I loved about trying. It's wanting approval for something you have no intention of doing. So there's nobody here to try. I think that's really one of the central things, pointers that you're pointing at, is really, if it comes down to anything at all, it's no thing and no one, not nothing, right? So on this idea of trying, I have some friends that I know, lovely people, okay? They are trying, okay? They think they're trying to let go, or they have an interest in having a higher vibration. They want to have this higher, be more still and silent, and they want to. They have an interest in no spiritual bypassing. Ooh, no, I see, that would be spiritual bypass. If I just say who gives a shit, or who's caring, or who's, and then I just see, I haven't done the efforting. You see, there's supposed to be some efforting, not just seeing that. Well, the thing that you thought was a snake was really a rope, and when you see that, the need to let go and all, it just fall. I don't know if I'm making any sense here, but what I'm trying to point out here is this try. I'm pointing at trying, okay? This trying, and so I think something I was wanting to chat about today was just this one friend. I got this one lovely friend who he wants to, not spiritually bypass. Because he doesn't want to, that's a cop out. Yeah, just saying there's nobody here to do anything. And I can understand kind of like where they're coming from. It's kind of like, if I was living with you and I make a mess and I don't clean up after myself in the kitchen, and then you say, well, you left a mess in the kitchen. And I'm like, yeah, nobody leaves a mess. You know what I mean? It can
probably different intention. You see, there is a different intention in wanting the truth. Like in Zen, they say, when you want the truth as badly as you want the air when you have your head submerged under the water for 2 or 3 minutes, then you are actually ready to look for it. If you want to be on the path, and you want to be more spiritual, or you want to be more holy, or you want to become more whatever, or you want to, resolve your childhood traumas, or you want to do, wonderful.
There's a belief in a you that's doing that.
What's wrong with that? If that is how life wants to express through this body, that there is a me who wants to elevate my vibrational frequency to be more loving, wonderful. That person is not interested in finding the truth. They may believe that having more pleasure in life or more love in life is the ultimate truth. And that is again life expressing. I would not invite those people to actually listen to non-duality, because what's the point? There is really no necessity for life experiencing itself directly through everybody. It's okay if life wants to experience itself as a director of a great symphonic orchestra, and without bypassing spend thousands of hours of learning of directing the orchestra, or being the orchestra of the very fine vibrational frequencies of unconditional love or whatever. And there is a sense of doership, achieving it slowly by effort, by pain. How beautiful. If you see that for you know that is the same life expressing as that. Fantastic chef or fantastic mathematics teacher or scientist. They don't really, they don't have their head under the water for 2 minutes. They don't have to look for the ultimate truth. That sense of seeking more pleasure or more fulfillment or more refined, loving energy is the sense of life. It gives them direction. It gives them pleasure. My mother is one of those people. She doesn't ever want to find because she loves the seeking. There's no idea of bypassing.
And she's not the doer of that either.
No.
Yeah,
It's a beauty of the life expressing,
The people I'm referring to, by the way, are already, non-duality students. So that's all I'm pointing at. Is just that, they're missing a point.
They don't have their head under the water. They don't obviously suffer strongly enough to actually really, really long for liberation. If there is time for some sort of a practice or effort or something, if there is still, that sense of I have to do everything, or I need 7 lifetimes, or obviously there is that way that life is dancing that dance, and that is to be honored. That is to be, okay, wonderful. Okay, tell me how you're going. You can check in with them once in a month. Oh, are you any closer? Oh, cool, that's fantastic. And just be the space of listening, receiving life reflected and expressing itself this way. Yes?
There's only life, intelligence, energy. Why the universe and everything in it is functioning implies it's suffused with an innate natural intelligence. It's not an accidental or willy-nilly happening, shaping, forming. It's all intelligent. And intelligence is knowing. And knowing is an activity. Any activity is a movement of energy. So it's intelligence, energy, patterning, shaping, functioning, appearing and expressing as everything. So all these so-called others, whether they're looking for it or whether they're not, everything is that.
Mm-hmm.
Only that.
And
whether they believe it or not.
Non-duality is about questioning the beliefs. And that does not exclude a belief in lifetimes, reincarnation, spiritual passing or bypassing. All of the beliefs have to be questioned. So if someone sits under the umbrella or label that they are doing non-duality and they are not willing to question beliefs, then wonderful, keep dancing. That's it. It doesn't, it doesn't take you anywhere. It doesn't do anything unless really there is that strong urge to really look, to truly investigate, to truly question. That life can just unfold as a beautiful dance. And it's nothing wrong. No one is at fault. No one is lost.
I wasn't trying to say anything was wrong. I was just trying to say that I think that these people who are already been students are missing the point that there isn't anyone to do anything. That's all.
Yeah.
The communities formulated around this kind of behaviour. Sorry, I don't want to say anything. You say something like it's
I was just sitting and, body, I'm just breathing basically. And, we got people, faces that seem familiar, and, I remember some names: Dean, Bob, Ross, Julia, and that is all happening in my mind, and it's creating this story and creating this seeming separation. And then Bob says, there's actually nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And kind of just has me sitting without any labels of anything. And it just all seems to blend into nothing, presence, the absolute, and all the time the mind is labelling things, and whether you're at work, you've got your friend, your colleagues, you're at work, it's lunchtime, all of these ideas that just kind of seemingly cover the presence. Instead of just saying that the presence is just fresh and new, and there's no one here.
Dean, you're going to say what you were saying. Please, because that is a really good point, that the communities are being formed around those ideas. And they serve a purpose, a beautiful purpose.
I didn't really have anything to say.
Let's just say it.
You've got plenty to say, haven't you?
I was going to listen to what you said.
In your spiel today, Bob, you spoke about a few things. Like thought, feeling, and emotion. And anyway, just a little story, and sort of similar to what Marty's saying. Yesterday, I went travelling and did running errands around different suburbs and areas, and in the journey, some of the areas were places from the past that I grew up in and whatever, and then it was so fascinating watching the way the mind was working. So it picked up like some thoughts about something, and then it grew. Then the thought became a feeling. Oh, that felt good when it's all changed, and all of a sudden there was these ideas that was formulating that this place is now, it used to be like this and now it's like this, and these stories were just appearing. But what was really fascinating was that within these stories there was embedded a character called Dean, embedded in the story, like very sneakily sort of put in there, and all of a sudden it's like, this is my story. And I was just watching this, like it started off by just like an image and a thought. That's that, and then it just grew from that to become what I'm describing now. And you could see how you could easily get entangled and confused and misidentified with the whole thing, very like that. Like this is within the space of 5 minutes or whatever, but then the recognition is like it's clear that this is, like you're saying, Bob. Everything, the emptiness is suffused with intelligence, or knowing. The movement itself is the knowing, like the way it moves, and like as you described, like the sun, self-shining, and in itself, it's self-emanate. It's the light and the sun are the same thing. I don't know. I'll just stop now. That's about enough. I'll just give it to Michael and Ed. You got something? I'll bring it. Rich has always got something good to say. Maybe not today.
What?
Try not to disappoint. Bob, you spoke of dream and you spoke of space. When the body's asleep, the body called Bob is asleep, do you have awareness of the space when you're not actually dreaming? In other words, do you experience night awareness?
What do you?
When you are sleeping, do you know you're sleeping?
When you're not dreaming.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're not dreaming, are you aware of the non-dreaming space? Do you have night awareness?
When I'm sleeping, in deep sleep, no. But when I wake up, I realise I slept well. So there was a recognition that there must have been an awareness of my unawareness even in that sleep. But as the person, I don't know anything about it.
No, but what about the overarching self? Is that, does that awareness continue when there is no dreaming taking place?
Awareness is all there is.
Yes, but it's one thing about being all there is, and there's another being aware of awareness.
Well, are you unaware right now? If you're not unaware right now, you must be aware without trying to grasp with the concept.
True enough, but I'm not asleep.
Well, the same when you sleep.
I'm not asleep.
Well, the same thing when
At
you
least
sleep.
as far as I know. If I'm not snoring anyway.
But what is sleeping? What is sleeping? Sleeping is the mind. The mind falls asleep. When the mind falls asleep, the recording is stopped, is paused.
Ah,
So
but I'm
if
not
there are
talking,
people
yes.
who are telling you that they have their mind active while they are sleeping, then obviously that's a different
No, I'm not talking about the mind though, I'm talking about awareness of awareness when asleep. Is that,
How
does it?
many awarenesses do you have now?
Well, there should be one continual awareness, and that should continue whether you're dreaming or not.
Yes, it is.
And that's my question.
Yeah, it is. But is it aware of itself?
Indeed, is it aware of itself?
It needs consciousness to reflect in.
So, but are you saying consciousness during dreamless sleep is unconscious? It can't be.
Yeah.
It is or isn't?
Awareness is life itself.
Is awareness continuous is what I'm asking.
Yes, there's only life. Nobody who lives a life.
So there is no unconsciousness during dreamless sleep.
And what the body's doing, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Okay.
I'm just going to share that, for what it's worth. I had many experiences of being aware of deep sleep, right? So quite a few different experiences of this, and I was quite proud of them in the end because I thought, wow, there's some things aware of nothing, and it was just dead still, complete silence, and there was like this. When it finished, it was like, oh, I know there's something that, but you know what? It's not even true. It was an illusion. It was a trap. It was like a game for the mind to try to attain some goal, something higher state of whatever. And in the end, there was some subtle movement that allowed the recognition to be aware of that. Does that make sense? So that it wasn't completely deep sleep. There was the slightest movement. I realised later there was the slightest movement which could enable a recognition, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Not really? No. Oh, good. Sorry, share it.
Yeah, I had a friend who had the same as Dean, but they could hear chickens running around outside. But again, it's just, you can make a concept out of it. It's just life as well, And I personally don't even agree with the whole awareness thing, because when the thinking's not happening, there's no such thing as awareness or consciousness or any of it. There's just there's nothing to be said about anything. There's nothing thought about anything. It's just what's here. And it's not, to me, that awareness and consciousness are still concepts to me. I mean, just when the brain's off, those things aren't showing up as thoughts at all, or notions.
Well, I go for days with no thought.
How? That's a concept, isn't it? There must be, because isn't it just a logical thought?
No, there's nothing.
Exactly, and that's, so where's the awareness and nothing? Nothing. Where's the awareness and nothing?
There's no thing.
Exactly.
And I'm aware of no
Yes.
thing.
And how do you know you're aware?
Awareness
There's no
is
thing.
Awareness of awareness, I'm talking.
So where does this idea of awareness come up if no thing is going on, no thoughts are arising?
It doesn't require thought, it's just present.
Yeah, there's presence.
Now.
So why is awareness part of that?
Well, you put another word there.
It's just present now doesn't need to include something called awareness or consciousness.
It's called presence.
Yeah, it's just
Presence, is it? Conscious.
But usually I think it's logic when people then say, there must be awareness because otherwise this wouldn't be noticed, but it isn't being noticed when no thoughts about noticing are arising.
Well, speak for yourself.
It's just a general experience and nothing more. General experience, nothing more.
Yeah, interesting discussion. But it may be something, it may be just memory too, that there is no memory of consciousness in that state, that sometimes we're aware of dreaming, sometimes we're not the next morning, sometimes we remember dreams well, sometimes not. Who knows if we can remember everything that's going on in the mind or not going on in the mind during sleep. But I was just going to say something to what Dean was talking about, because I often think about memory and what makes it, and there's something physical about memory too. Like I think often about like a street that I lived in 20 years ago or something. If I said go around the corner from that street, I wouldn't remember anything about it. I couldn't tell you a thing about that street. But if I go there, physically go to that street and walk around that corner, I'll remember everything about it. I'll remember the gates and the things that we used to write things on and stuff like that. All that is physically there. The mind goes there and reconstructs it from the physical being there. So I often think of memory being something external to the mind or something that the mind can tap into. I'm not sure. It's something that I find really interesting. And that's what we call, what we remember like that is what we call ourself too, because I'll say, I know it because I was there, or I remember being there, and that's how we construct that idea of self too, is what we can remember personally that other people don't remember either, I suppose.
There's one of the philosophers, or whatever they call them, I don't know, I forget his name now, wrote a book, Self-Aware Universe.
Yeah, I remember that.
Self-aware universe. There's only awareness.
Yeah, I read that book years ago.
Yeah. I haven't, really. But the title grabbed me.
Good book. Yeah.
I just will point out that I had experience some time ago of mind completely going. Body was awake, but mind went. It lasted for 4 days, and I don't know if the body slept or not. I didn't, because it was just pure unbounded consciousness, awareness. But then some sensations of the body started to come back. It would appear to me now, through those experiences and a near-death experience I had as well, that there is movement all the time at that level of awareness. There's completely unbounded awareness without any connection to anything that's solid. It's just everything is seen through. Everything is direct experiencing without any interpretation. Right up to, this is the human body and the personality and all that sort of stuff. There appears to be movement there. That's been my experience, and I suspect we've all got different experiences of, where the consciousness or the awareness moves, and what is moving and what is not moving. That's just a mind thing, but the direct experiencing of it, and that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm talking about the unboundedness.
Complete unbounded awareness. Yeah.
Beyond magnificent.
Yes, it's just complete immersion, and the sensations coming from the body very small. Not sure what the body's quite doing. It's just doing, but it changes. But yours doesn't change. Is that what you're saying?
When I'm in unboundedness, it's like eternal.
When I'm in unboundedness, so there's a...
When unboundedness exists, it
Give
is
him
by
a stick.
definition unbounded.
Yes, correct. But then your experience... sorry, I'm just wondering about this, because then your experience of self and person and, eating and sleeping and stuff come back, yeah? Well, I can say just one more thing I want to add to that, is that as a result of that experience or that awareness has never been covered again. It's never been not known. But at times there's still reaction comes up, and there's still body, and there's still, an apparent life being lived. So I'm just interested really in what your experience directly, specifically around that stuff is.
There is no limit to it. Everything that exists is happening within it.
Yeah, true.
But still there's somebody wondering something.
Question.
There's no Richard to wonder.
So that changes. There's a kind of movement there, yes?
Richard does come back.
Yes, so that's the interesting thing. And that is the thing I'd like to ask Bob about.
What?
About
Who is Richard?
Coming back.
correct. There appears to be a movement within unbounded awareness. A movement appears to occur. Unbounded awareness is unbounded, has no limitations. But then the experience, the questioning mind, or the reactive person, or the personality, the vehicle, the apparent, and I call it apparent vehicle, an apparent person. There's a movement. Seems to be a movement there.
Yeah, it's all activity, it's all energy. But awareness is only awareness, and then consciousness comes upon awareness. Yeah. Awareness is pure. But then the consciousness comes upon the aware, conscious of this, that, or the other. The words come upon.
Right. Yeah, because when there was just pure unbounded awareness, there's no thought, no conscious. There's nothing that's having a reflection of that. It's pure, unbounded. There's no mind at all. But then the mind comes back. But that experience is still present.
It appears.
Or experience, or that whatever that is. Yeah.
Oh,
The words.
Experiencing happens.
Experiencing, yeah, right.
You might notice that the person is, when you come seemingly conscious again, the person is reconstructed, because I think, where am I? Oh, what am I doing? Oh, I meant to do this or something or other. All those sort of thoughts start coming back.
Yeah, thought comes up about it, about the presence.
About who I am and what I've got to do.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing.
Bob
That's
wants
kind
to
of.
say something.
Please, yeah.
Without the word, where's any of it happening? Is there such a thing without the word?
Exactly, but there is a movement though, into word and away from word, and into mind and away from mind. There seems to be a movement. It's not fixed. It's not you've reached there and that's it, and all that sort of thing. But it's
any movement is an activity, and any activity is energy.
Yeah.
And this is perhaps helpful what Tony was suggesting. Forget about the word awareness. It's so confusing.
Yes, the word is very laden.
It's so confusing. Space. Bob sometimes says sky like awareness, or space like awareness. It doesn't suggest there is anything.
Well, the direct experience is pure unbounded awareness, not bounded by anything.
Yeah.
That's the
But
direct
it's still
experience.
it.
There's no, but it's
Still awareness. It.
There is a presence. It's presence only.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, without any reflection on it. So that is a thing. That is an it, if you want to give it. It is when we talk about it, because language talks about it, right?
Yeah.
And it's reflecting on it. It's no longer it, but there does seem to be a
But
movement.
that's
It's a
the
thing.
I am.
Nisargadatta says we try to grasp it with a concept.
No.
Yeah.
We try to grasp it with a concept and we fail. He says we're bound to fail because it's non-conceptual awareness.
Yeah, that's right.
Awareness without it.
Language is totally.
And it is not it. It is the I am. It's the sense of presence, the sense of aliveness, experienced closer than your feet, closer than your breath and your face. Is here. Is here and now.
Nothing
It's not
but now.
something to discuss or something to verify. Oh, how do you experience? Or how do you? Or what about you? And by the way, I should have read it earlier. There is a beautiful comment from Connor. I swear, every meeting Dean says he has nothing to say, and then drops the most incredible insights.
That was nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is all nothing, but that nothing can be really a diamond, pearls of wisdom.
It is another good one.
And also, there's no denying everything. There's no rejecting anything. There is nothing to reject. There is no rejection. Everything is accepted.
Yeah.
Or not that even acceptance isn't there, because it's there's a doing or a participation occurring there. But nothing is not there, whatever that is.
I remember something just in that discussion. Maybe it's a bit funny, but Kerry Packer died on the polo field or something, and he was brought back to life. And they said, "What did he?" Or someone said something about life after death or something. He said he wasn't impressed. There was nothing there.
That's a shock to hell out of it.
Should have asked him who was observing the nothing.
Anybody?
Anyone else? Did you want to say something?
No.
Marty?
Did you want to say something?
I'm sorry. You can if you want.
I was going to say something, but then Bob kind of said it. I was just going back to the one thing I heard. Sorry, I wasn't listening fully, but awareness of awareness. Can awareness be aware of awareness? Well, I'm just going to throw a curveball, but awareness of awareness is just a thought, you know. So you can only experience awareness. We can't actually experience awareness of awareness, but you can only imagine there's awareness of awareness, or think there's awareness of awareness. Because as we say that, you know, what we're talking about isn't even awareness or isn't even presence. And so that is all there is. So anything else is just an idea. And these words, presence and awareness, are actually just pains in the ass, because we end up, you know, thinking we've nailed it down with this word that seems pretty unlimited, but words are limited as well. No matter how unlimited the definition is, they're still limited. And yeah, they're pains in the ass, so we just don't need them either.
Yeah, I don't like that word awareness either.
The trouble is that we use awareness of. This is not of anything. That's the mind, to be aware of the picture, to be aware of the mirror. You know, mind is just reflecting consciousness. So awareness is beingness. It's here. You do aware of awareness, and it's a double whammy. It's nothing. It's back here. It's at the beginning. It's before the beginning of the beginning. It cancels out everything. You know, this words of is outside, and you need the mind to reflect it. Like deep sleep is nothing, and it's everything. It's just full, and we only know it when we get into the mind, because then we make a thing of it. Oh yes, I was aware of it. But before that, you between thoughts, you didn't need anything to be happy. You didn't need anything to be anything. And it's who we are, and it's the most supreme state. Because only with the rise of the mind that we get into all these problems and, you know, temporary states of happiness and sadness and everything else. It's just the movement of the river that we start to measure things by. But before that, we're nothing and we're everything, and it's just full and complete, and it's beautiful.
No attributes.
No attributes.
Just as it is.
Exactly.
There's a quote that says, deep sleep is not absence of awareness. It is awareness of absence, which I don't know what's the difference.
Awareness of absence. Absence.
You've got my vote. I like that.
Thanks for nothing. Thank you, Richard.
I have a comment here from Ram. He says, go to a park and observe expressions of consciousness. A tree, a bird, a small child, a dog, a teenager, an adult. Then notice the layers of illusion covering the same basic consciousness. Notice how that illusion is very simple, almost non-existent in a tree. a little more complex in a dog or a small child and far more intense in a full-grown adult. That illusion is a sense of me, which is most pronounced in an adult human, but non-existent in a tree. This is why we feel so much warmth toward little children and animals, but fear and trepidation around adults. But that's a fear or warmth actually has nothing to do with them, but our concept about them and our concept about ourselves. Thank you, Ram.
Yeah, so what Ram was saying was similar to the experience I was describing about yesterday, where we're experiencing concepts of so there's things appearing in consciousness, adornments, and then the concepts with the history and the memory and all that came sort of flooding back in.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking of this consciousness and awareness discussion that we're having, and it's really interesting because it's sort of simple, and then I think in this it's really good, but it all moves away. It actually it cannot figure out in any way, shape or form consciousness and awareness. Like there's no way that the mind can grasp these ideas, and the more we talk about it, it's almost like we move away from the direct pointing of something that Bob's doing here so beautifully. It's like just the simplicity of like keep seeing that there's no thing that sees. You know,
the more you talk and think about it, the further away you wander from do. Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like
stop talking and thinking, and there's nothing you'll not be able to know.
Discussion's over, is that right?
End of story.
Discussion's over then?
No, go on, Dean.
Oh no, that's it. I think Michael's been wanting to say something.
Well, you come the full circle, which is perfect, because that's where it started, I mean, all the way around.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what it brought to me, like what you're saying, Dean, about that, the stories and everything, like, in order to stay happily married, every 2 or 3 or 4 years, I have to go to places like IKEA. And I was there yesterday. And I'm really not a fan of IKEA because they keep you trapped. I think it's something like 3 kilometres you have to go around. You can't find your way out. And I reckon there are still, Japanese World War II soldiers in there trying to find their way out. But it was a bit different yesterday because we started at the cafe. And I was at the cafe, and exactly what you were saying, Dean, I was just sitting there and I was thinking, this moment is never going to be repeated.
Yeah.
This person walking back. And it's just so mundane and boring. And then I'm like, well, maybe it's not. and like, never, ever going to be repeated, this moment.
Yes.
And then IKEA was okay. For a while.
Something to say, Sheila? Anyone have any?
I'll just be very quick. I'll pass it on to you next. Yeah, I think it's also easy to be dismissive about these discussions because in some packages, placed around, there, just something said, a word, anything, just a combination of this environment can trigger a big letting go that was held onto. So, I think it's relative as to whether something is taking someone more into the mind or away from it.
I mean, I can hold it for a second. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to have something great to say, but, I don't really. So. I mean, that would make me feel really cool, right? Yeah.
What? You've done it. Congratulations.
Jane. Oh, no.
Life sometimes seems like a battleground, and just getting back to trying that Julia was talking about, there's this in the midst of battle, and last week seemed like a battleground, being married. And in the midst of battle, this guy said, Naiva kinchit karamiti yukto manyeta tatpavit. He's speaking in Sanskrit, and a sort of translation is Naiva, not even kinchit whatsoever, nothing I do, or I do nothing whatsoever. Yukto manyeta tatvavit. Yukto it comes from yoked, joined together. So manyeta is tatvavit, seated in the self. A wise man should think, I do nothing whatsoever. And there's pure being. That's the awareness of awareness, if you like.
Okay, that's beautiful. You do nothing, and yet everything is happening effortlessly. The breathing is happening, heartbeat's happening, seeing's happening, hearing, experiencing is happening. Done by no one. Striving for things is happening. Learning new skills is happening. Spiritual bypassing is happening, if anyone has a concept of that. Although Jesus was saying, seek ye the kingdom first. And once you find the kingdom, you find that life is effortlessly doing everything. And then life is doing bypassing. Well, wonderful. And then life is doing something else. Remembering the sleep or sleepless dream. Wonderful. Or life doesn't remember. Wonderful. But once you rooted in that kingdom, in that realization that there is only that one life that does absolutely everything, every conception and every perception, every idea is just life-lifing, then what questions they come? They come the life speaking to life, interacting with life. You want to...
Not separate, not divided.
No, it's just a dance, it's Leela, it's a divine game. Playing hide and seek, pretending that it's not clear and obvious. Creating stories. Richard?
I'm very impressed, Ross, that you have arguments in Sanskrit.
Yogastar Kuru Kumani, established in being, act. Yogastar Kuru Kumani, established in being, perform action. That's Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
It's established in being.
Yes. And I like even when Tony simplifies it even further. That is just a movement from what you were saying, from the high pressure to low pressure?
Yes,
or
it's a
from
movement of energy, from high pressure to low pressure.
Yeah.
And stories of survival don't even need to come into it. Like, I've never,
Absolutely.
what is the story of survival? Like, it never seemed...
Yeah, and even life.
It always seemed way too difficult to unpack, why is everybody trotting around the story of survival? What's it even for? Why are they doing it?
Yeah, it basically is just a simple explanation of the movement. That's why. It's not necessary. If you can actually see the movement without that, if it's simple enough for you, then you don't need the story.
I once read a useful, it was the beginning of like how the most base organism became an organism, got a boundary, a skin around it to separate it from the next thing, and so on. And it's just like... Yeah, those were movements of the universe from one thing to another, or one, set up to another, which is a little more complex than high pressure to low pressure. But why does any of that need to be called survival or not survival? What makes something a survived thing and a not survived thing? This whole thing about, this emotion helped you with your survival when you were young, that just seemed like such a complex story, I could never even get round to trying to unpack it to see if it actually even made sense, or it was even applicable to anything. So it's just always got left, I'm not dissing it. I'm not saying that it might not have a fairly, useful, fairly close description to a reality than other descriptions of things.
It might have value for others, but it doesn't have for you.
Yeah, it just seemed too flippin' abstract.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. There is no dog or cat or wolf or giraffe who actually need a story of survival. So that story is really just kind of dancing around the Hindu description of Satchitananda. So that preference for existence, which kind of makes that boundary of skin and makes that movement from low to high pressure to somewhat preserve itself in a form of hurricane or fire or whatever. There is a sense of, like, even the other Hindu description, like Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, those forces, they are just stories, they are collective stories, descriptions which intend to quieten the mind. Because if the mind comes up with the question why, you just tell them that's how it is, shut up, that's it.
So
and if you don't need it, you don't need it.
So the simplest level is just a story of attachment to a boundary. So that's a nice. I hadn't really come up with a nice simple description of the story for survival. I like that one too. But I mean, it's still just fun. This words coming out. I like this one. It's just words coming out, and that's got fully understood here. But it doesn't mean that they don't happen. Like, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this bag. It doesn't happen. Just Tony was thinking this because I'm a person. Doesn't happen. Yeah.
Space has never been corrupted by any of the patterns, shapes and forms that appeared and disappeared.
Yeah, and whether you call it a movement, or whether you call it consciousness, or whether you call it life, or whether you call it space, or field of potentiality, doesn't really matter. And it's actually good to just really not get attached to any of the descriptions, because none of it is the described. They're just words. But yes, some people will have the tendency to resonate with the word God. Other people will have the tendency to resonate with the word space, or the movement, or whatever.
I like Bob's non-void.
Non-void,
that's the one that does show up here. Non-void.
Yeah, it's not nothing, but it's no thing. Yeah.
It can be easy to go on forever. Just thought I'd remind everyone tomorrow we'll be on Zoom. That's all.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.